We are talking about the Rockets. They finished off their season with the worst record in the league, which, is a big fat dub in a lot of ways, but it's also an L in other ways. In terms of where they want to get to now, obviously they're just collecting talent. They're trying to see where this can go. They've got 3 first-round picks in 2023, and they've got a top 5 guaranteed pick just this last season. So a lot of young guys coming in. Are they going to start trading some of these picks? Are they going to, I don't know, are they going to just see what happens? Like, how soon are they going to give up on a guy? Like, after this year, are they ready to give up on some of the rookies who maybe they weren't as into?
I mean, KPJ's definitely the guy close to that cutting. Not that he's been so terrible. He definitely had a disappointing season. They had a lot of hype coming into the season, hoping that he would be a lot better than he was. Certainly much better playmaker than he is. Jalen Green has met expectations, if not greater, I think. The second half of the season was much like what Anthony Edwards had last year. So that's awesome. That's great to see they have that young prospect. Obviously, Christian Wood, he's not one of their young core, but he's still a pretty young guy. He's center, power forward you would want. They saw a bunch out of Şengün, and I think we're going to see a lot more minutes for him going forward. And Jae'Sean Tate, they have a decision to make going up with him, but I think he's worth keeping around. He had a down year, just like he ended last year pretty strong, and he started to get back to that in the end. But top 5 pick, guaranteed top 5 pick, 14% at the number 1 overall. I think this team in particular, I don't know about trading any picks this maybe not even this year that they're even going to look at it. I think it depends on whom they draft and the success they have in next year on what they do with those picks. However, they're pretty versatile. I see them needing a point guard, or they could do with another wing or power forward. So to play next.
Yeah, I mean, is it too early to try and get another good young player on this team? I don't know who's out there is available for them to get, but even maybe trading a first round pick or 2 for a guy like Julius Randle, is that worth it to have a solid power forward here? Maybe a little bit more salary. You're willing to pay that because you have a bunch of young guys on the squad. Does it make sense to do something like that, move the needle a little bit more, or are they simply gonna go super young again next year and like, oh, if we're really bad, get another top pick again?
I think this pick, they're going to pull in a star. I think that Julius Randle, assuming everyone's closer to their peak, he'd be a great fit next to Christian Wood, Jalen Green, KPJ. I don't think that's their timeline yet. Maybe after next year, but I don't think they're going to be as young going into the next season. I do think they're going to see more value in vets. Like I think Rubio would be a perfect vet. I think he could come in. He's kind of exactly what a guy like KPJ and Jalen Green need. A guy that super smart, show you how to play, show all that stuff he's good at is kind of what they're lacking. And I think he would be awesome. He could get a decent contract from them. I think their biggest, honestly, aside from figuring out who they're going to draft, but they're so versatile, they could draft Paolo, Chet, Smith, Ivy, Murray. They could really pull in any of those guys, and I wouldn't be mad at that pick. I mean, obviously, if they get one, it's going to be Chet or Paolo. But I think their biggest concern is figuring out what to do with John Wall. I think that's
I mean, I don't think that's a concern. Like, they know that no one wants him. Like, you're going to have to buy him out eventually. I think you see what you can possibly do this offseason if anyone possibly wants to take a bite at him for anything. But it's not going to happen. They're just going to have to end up buying him out eventually anyways. So to me, that's not a debate. They know like what's going to happen.
Well, so especially with the Russell Westbrook situation, I think certain things have opened up where it's more of a possibility where they get traded for each other again. I think the Lakers might be so upset that that's the move they have to do. Is it better for the Lakers to do that?
They weren't willing to trade the future first round pick before. Why would they do it now?
Because they're desperate.
That offer was there at the deadline.
Yeah, but now that they thought it was going to work out, they thought they could turn it around, and they didn't. And now it's just that's what Frank Vogel was about. They needed to make some change, even though I don't personally don't think he was the issue at all.
No,
I think he's a really nice coach.
That's just PR.
Dumb.
They think if they put a fall guy out there and they say, oh, injuries and look, we fired the coach, now it's good. Like, that's just in their delusional heads. They think they've solved that problem. But I think deep down they all know too, and the front office obviously knows that no one wants Westbrook, and the best possible offer they could have gotten. And maybe you're right. If that John Wall offer stays out there, maybe they end up taking it. But to me, giving up that first round pick would be really dumb.
Yeah, I think it might be structured with an extra player in or two or something. But I wouldn't. Actually, now that I'm thinking on the Rockets side, I don't think that would be good. Like, why would you want Russell Westbrook unless you're going to buy him out?
Yeah, it's like for them, the Rockets, they're only doing it if they can get like an unprotected first round pick out. Oh, yeah. Otherwise,
and
why is it worth it?
They'd have to buy him out.
And buy it out. Buy him out, which is like, to them, they're like, well, we were going to buy out John Wall anyways. At least this way we get a first round pick out.
Yeah, and John Wall didn't want to get bought out. But another contract, actually, I don't think it's a need for them to trade, but I will think it'll be thrown around as Eric Gordon's contract. I mean, he's non-guaranteed next year. This is essentially his final year, because nobody has to pick up his, like $17 million next year. But I do think there's a lot of teams that are that would be into taking Eric Gordon. I don't think he'd be a buyout candidate, and I think this offseason, certainly with certain sign-in trades, it'd be possible. I think I do. What you mentioned earlier about a young player pulling him in, I do think Marvin Bagley's worth a look for this team. You know, depending upon who they draft.
I was thinking one with some talent, preferably.
I mean, like, that's what these rebuilding teams can do. They're like, listen, we have the available minutes. Just come give a try. I mean, who they should throw a contract at this offseason? It makes perfect sense because their coach, Steven Silas, used to coach him, and they really need a ball handler, a guy who can steady their offense. And that's why Jalen Brunson just makes a ton of sense. I mean, I think him on the Rockets would be perfect. You would have, KPJ could come off the bench, maybe try to figure himself out some more, or KPJ maybe he plays at the 2 anyways. But I maybe have Jalen Green at the 2. You've got Sengun at the 4, and you got Wood at the 5, right? I'm not missing anyone, am I? I mean, Jayshawn Tate, but he's in and out. He can be in and out. He can definitely come off the bench. I mean, KPJ in Cleveland, he was a small forward. People forget that. Like, that's what he was drafted as a forward. So he's a wing.
He's big enough. He can definitely switch over. And if they think he's good enough to keep starting, I mean, his spark plugginess, could be good off the bench. Might be good for him to maybe motivate him some more. You never know. But maybe having just another guy who can lead the offense, take that pressure off the guys like KPJ and Jalen Green, probably help them out a lot. And Jalen Brunson has familiarity with Silas, probably knows a lot of plays they're going to run anyways. So I feel like it's a good fit.
I think that's a great fit. I think that, like, I never thought about that. That'd be perfect. I would love that for Jalen Brunson. The best version of Jalen Brunson is when Luka's not on the floor. And that's when he's doing the best. He's playmaking. He's doing what he can. And
he'll have like a great scorer next to him.
Yeah, sure. Like, Jalen's such a great off-ball player. He does not need the ball, and that's one of the biggest pluses I've seen that emerge from this. The only concern is I feel like they wouldn't have the cap to give him the contract, so it'd have to be a sign and trade with either Eric Gordon and some other players, or Christian Wood for Jalen Brunson. I would not be totally...
I think in the end, if it comes to that, probably is worth it for Houston, given like the shit that Wood had done earlier this year anyways.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say maybe, like, I mean, that'd be a great fit for the Mavs. I would see the Mavs being like,
they'd love it,
we have Spencer Dinwiddie, so we have a guy who can step in and play the 2 or the 1 or the 2 when Luka's not
now
in.
We get a promising young big who doesn't really have a ton of injury concerns from what we can see.
Yeah, who's really like the role they needed from KPJ. I mean, not KPJ, Kristaps.
Porzingis, yeah.
Where they're like, shoot threes and play defense. Christian can do that better, honestly. Than I would say right now, with the especially injuries aside, he's better than Kristaps. That's the hot
Facts.
take, but that's
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that
facts.
hot take. Kristaps definitely fell off, and Christian Wood's
falling off hard. And I think Woods just got a lot of potential right now, whereas with Porzingis, he's getting paid huge dollars and he's gotten hurt a ton, and when he's come back, he just hasn't looked the same. So we've kind of moved on from him. That's what we do in the NBA. We move on to what's next. Who's the guy who's going to get good next? Right. But I think, it would make a ton of sense for both teams there. It gets a new change of scenery for Wood. He would probably enjoy and maybe be more motivated to be on a winning team more immediately. And him and Luka would be a great connection, no doubt. But for Houston, I love it just because, Jalen Brunson can lead their offense. Jalen Green doesn't need the ball in his hands as much, like in terms of dribbling the ball, but he can get open more often off the ball. And then you've got some other shooters around there who hopefully going to grow as well. I like a guy like Josh Christopher to hopefully improve again next season after his rookie year here. I think you try to get in good young players like that. And I don't think like the contract would be too insane where it's like they can't make it happen.
No, I don't think the contract would be too insane. But speaking of contracts, so they have 2 extensions that they got to figure out coming up. So Christian Wood, assuming he's not in this trade, he has an extension that he'll be extension eligible this offseason, and so will KPJ. What do you think they're both worth? Christian Wood first.
Well, isn't he currently on like a 3 and $57 million?
Yeah, this is the last year of his contract.
So I think if we're looking at a next contract, I'm thinking if he wants to go long term, I think he can get 4 years and like $72 million.
4 years, 72. Yeah, right now he's on a 3-year 41.
Oh, 341. Yeah, I think he could definitely get 472. Maybe he doesn't want that 4th year and he wants to dip back into free agency again. He could definitely just take like a 2 or a 3 year deal and maybe try to prove himself further, because I don't think he's proven himself enough to be like much higher than that. Like, I don't think he's really like a $20 million a year player quite yet, but I certainly think he can get above that.
I think he can make eventually in his career make more, but I think it'd be closer to like what the Magic gave Aaron Gordon 3 years ago, which was like, he essentially $17 million a year for 3 years.
Yeah, I think
17.
it was like, 3 and 60 whatever. So, or no, 3 and 57. Yeah, I think that makes sense. But I think you got to keep him around if he's willing to sign the extension. So.
Yeah. I would throw the money at him, see what happens. What about KPJ though? I think the most important is how long do you sign him to that contract? Aside from money,
KPJ, I would give a short-term contract. I don't know if I could go over 2 years for him.
Oh, really?
If I did do 3 years, like the money would just go down. So like if he wants long-term security, cool, the money's going down a bunch.
Okay.
I would say like maybe 2 year. $33 million deal.
2 year 33, so making about 15. I was gonna say something like
is that too high, you think?
I'd say per year. I was gonna say something like 3 year 36 with a team option on the 3rd year. So that's about 12 million a year. 12.
Yeah, makes sense. I think like his potential is definitely there, and I thought he would just have like a way better season this year than he ended up turning in. But I definitely think the potential's there, and he had a lot of problems to start out his career. It looked like maybe he wasn't even gonna try and stay in the league. So, this is an improvement from that at least. So I'm hopeful to see that he'll improve next year, and maybe with the new contract, we'll see even more motivation.
Yeah, but. Rockets, it'll be exciting. Can't wait for the lottery. They can't fall out of top 5, so they're gonna get a good player unless they draft terribly.
I bet they'll get in the top 3.
Yeah,
I bet they will.
42% chance of getting in the top 3.
Yeah, so I take my odds on that. But let's move on. I mean, Rockets were great to talk about, and I think definitely they're probably going to just be looking for more development next year. We'll see what they do in the draft and free agency. But we're going to move on from that.
Hey guys, like and subscribe to the video. If you guys have any ideas for videos, put them down below. If you guys want to talk about it, want us to talk about a trade, put it below. Like, if you want us to talk about anything, put it below. Put anything below.